What is going on, everybody?
Whoa.
Welcome back to the
Oh my.
Fantasy Feud. Today we are doing
Yeah.
Flex Fridays. Flex Fridays is a brand new format that we are doing today, and it's essentially we are just taking situational, difficult choices on who you should start in your flex spots, taking two people versus one another that we think are going to be pretty close in like their fantasy points this week. And we're going to break down the matchups that they're going to be a part of. But before we get into things, if you guys enjoyed the video, like it, and then comment down below some of the tough flex spots that you guys are going to have this week. We'd be more than happy to answer them for you guys and give you guys our best advice. But without further ado, we're going to jump straight into things today. We have Ramondre Stevenson versus Devonta Freeman. Ramondre Stevenson is playing against Tennessee, and Devonta Freeman is playing against Cleveland. Mason, what would your breakdown on this little matchup be?
Well, Tennessee right now is giving the fourth least points up to the running back position with an average of around 17 points. That does not look good for Ramondre Stevenson, but the Patriots are always able to run the ball no matter what. Ramondre Stevenson is looking tough here lately, guys. Looking past that at Devonta Freeman, Cleveland's about middle of the pack. It would be an okay start, but I mean, Latavius Murray is coming back healthy. Paul can probably talk a little bit more on that. But my go-to on this position, I'd probably have to go Ramondre Stevenson just because how tough he's been lately, and just how much we talked about him early in the offseason. I have to stick by my word and say, hey, Ramondre Stevenson's that dude. He's going to come in here, run the heck out of the ball.
Yeah, if I can jump in, Stone, I don't know if you're going to try to
Jump
talk
in.
anything.
Jump in.
In this same situation, it's kind of like what Mason just said for the reasons why he likes Ramondre. But I personally would take Devonta Freeman with what Mason just mentioned of Latavius Murray now coming back healthy. I think Freeman's kind of taken this job. He's the number one for a reason. There's a reason that they were willing to cut Le'Veon Bell once Latavius got healthy. But this is the last 5 games for Devonta Freeman. 11.3, 12.9, 16.3 against a pretty good Minnesota team. 8.8, which is relative dud in comparison to some of the other scores against Miami. And then he put up 20 points against Chicago. Obviously, Lamar wasn't there, so they kind of relied more on him. His touchdown at the end of the game also helped him a lot in that aspect. He's also had 3 touchdowns in the last 5 games. So I think he is showing a reason why he should be considered a starter. And if you had the luxury of already having an RB1 and 2, and you have Devonta Freeman just kind of lingering on your roster, you're not sure whether to start him. But like Mason said, this is kind of a tough matchup. They go against one of the better front sevens in NFL. But we've also seen the Browns, they're kind of in scramble mode right now. Ever since the OBJ scandal, it's just kind of one thing after another with this team. It seems like Baker Mayfield and his wife are fighting the entire organization in the city of Cleveland right now.
Yeah, sure.
Everybody, all the fans are kind of attacking him. They narrowly escaped the Lions last week, but we do know the Lions play most teams tough. But it just, like I said, this team kind of seems like it's in shambles a little bit. They're in scramble mode. And I think Devonta Freeman has a huge opportunity to, again, put up at least 12 fantasy points like he has in the past 5 games.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Paul. I think against Cleveland, obviously, it's going to be tougher, and Ramondre Stevenson doesn't have the best matchup in the world against Tennessee either. Tennessee's defense, as of recent, has been pretty solid for the most part, and you got Damian Harris to factor in there as well. Stevenson, even though Harris was back last week, still had a solid performance of about 12 carries for 70 yards. So, I mean, it's nothing to be scared of. Still had a catch, had around 8.5 fantasy points or so. So, I'm personally going to take Ramondre Stevenson here just because of Devonta Freeman against Cleveland. Cleveland's front seven scares me a little bit with Freeman. I think it's going to be more of Lamar Jackson and his pass attack in that game. So, I'm going Ramondre Stevenson if you were in
Here's
the
one
situation.
thing that might change your mind. He is limited in practice heading in. That was on Thursday. That's the latest news as of Thursday.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't do this much, but with Paul's argument there, it's kind of having me want to change my mind and go Devonta Freeman. If Damian Harris does play, then yeah, Devonta Freeman might be the better choice. But this is this is a hard call, and we come on here to try to make those decisions for you. So I'm going to stick with Ramondre Stevenson. Stone's going to stick. Stone, are you sticking with Ramondre?
Yep, Ramondre is my guy. So I think
And Paul's
that's.
going.
I think it's just a split decision here. They could both perform
Yeah.
very similarly, so it's really up to what you think about the matchups essentially. Because I mean, they really have the same kind of ceiling and low. So.
And that's what I was gonna say real quick. Is like it's almost like we bring these to you, but we also bring different perspectives from all three of us. So it's like for certain reasons we can like the same exact, or we can like opposite players for the same exact reasons. That's just because of the perspective that we bring from the fantasy knowledge and experience that we have.
Yep.
But yeah, so we'll go ahead and get into the next one. I just wanted to throw that out there.
I want to move on to Mike Davis versus Ty Johnson right now. So Mike Davis is an interesting one. He's playing against Jacksonville. That's really the reason he's on there. But all his fantasy status hinges on whether or not Cordell Patterson is going to be healthy. He has not practiced this week, so it's looking like Mike Davis is going to get the nod here. Is Mike Davis going to have a boom game against Jacksonville? Who knows? Ty Johnson's in the same boat. Michael Carter, pretty sure he has been ruled out with the ankle injury. So Ty Johnson was producing with Michael Carter out. Now Ty Johnson doesn't have anyone really to compete with in that backfield. I think Tevin Coleman's there, but I don't think he's going to do anything. Tevin Coleman's not very good anymore. He's playing against Houston this week, and Houston's defense, as of recent, actually has been pretty solid. But, I mean, Houston's defense, I think that's kind of more of a faker thing than anything. I don't think they're really that great. We saw that in the first few weeks where they were just getting beat by 60 points a game. Ty Johnson, you take away Michael Carter, Tevin Coleman's not a factor, and in my opinion, at all. I don't think he's going to do anything for the Jets. It's going to be all Ty Johnson. He's going to have more opportunity on the ground. He's going to continue his opportunity in the air like he always has been, and I think Ty Johnson's a good candidate for 14, 15 fantasy points this week, whereas Mike Davis, he could go out there and get 0.4 like he has been, but he also has boom potential. I'm going Ty Johnson here, though. I think he's the easier and safer start.
Like Stone said previously, Cordell Patterson might not play, so that means we're looking at Mike Davis. But they also have other guys that they're using. I think Cordell Patterson is the guy over there, and when he's not there, they're giving a mix, they're giving a spread. Plus, that Atlanta offense just does not have it right now. They do not look good. They can't get it together. They got beat. They got skunked at home. I do not trust that offense right now. So I'm going to go Ty Johnson. Like Stone was saying, without Michael Carter, he was scoring 10 a week. Or with Michael Carter, he was scoring 10 a week. Look for Ty Johnson to be a decent flex play. Don't just look at it as a Mike Davis. Go and see if Ty Johnson's on your waivers right now, guys. Take a quick plug, stick him in that flex spot, and then see what happens. It's worth a shot.
Yeah, this is going to be a clean sweep, and not necessarily for the reasons you guys talked about, but just because Mike Davis is dead to me. He's been on my roster for I want to say about 6 weeks now. I've had to start him multiple times due to injuries and not having players, and some of the waivers just aren't good. But he is on my list of regrettables for like eternity at this point. Even with his past 2 games, even with Cordell Patterson being hurt, he put up, and this is in a full PPR league, put up 1.8 points in 5.1. 5.1 obviously is on the low end of acceptable, I guess, for a starting running back. I said the low end of acceptable. Because if you get 7 or 8 points from your running back, you're kind of like, yeah, okay. If you get lower than that, like I said, the low end of it is where you're encroaching, like, I completely regret playing this guy. Wayne Gallman, he's the one that's kind of stepped up. He's the one that's took on a lot more in that offense with Cordero being out. And then they even started, I think it was Quadri Olison in the last game. He was even getting reps.
So I was saying that mix.
Yeah, Mike Davis, it just, regardless of how many touches he gets, whether Cordero Patterson being the guy is out, they still don't really do anything for this offense. And like we seen the last game against New England, they were completely whooped every facet of the game. Defense, offense, special teams. Matt Ryan isn't looking very good this year. A couple games he was balling out, but that's, again, getting Kyle Pitts involved as well as Cordero Patterson. And now he doesn't have those guys. Obviously, he has Pitts. They can double team him. But this offense as a whole just isn't producing well enough right now. And like you guys said, with Ty Johnson, I think Tevin Coleman is going to have a little bit bigger impact than you think, Stone. And that's just because they can't fully expect to play Ty Johnson every single down of every possession. So he will be spelled here and there a little bit. But like you said, I think he's going to get a bulk of the carries. I think he's going to continue to work. And we talked about him at the beginning of the year that we thought Ty Johnson was going to be the man to run this backfield. I loved Michael Carter. I spoke to it. I said it's going to take a little time for him to get going just because he has these two veterans to get past. Middle of the season, Michael Carter's the starter. He's been killing it. Now he's injured. High ankle sprain. He's out a couple weeks. Insert who we talked about, Ty Johnson. I think this is going to be a good matchup. I will say Houston, their defense has been playing a little bit better. Kind of like what you said, Stone. It's almost like an outlier where they're kind of fakers. But also at the same time, I don't think you can really fake 6 interceptions in a 2-game span. Regardless of one of them having four picks against Ryan Tannehill. But again, that's 6 interceptions in a 2-game span. And there's some teams in the NFL that don't even have 6 interceptions on the season right now. So their defense is starting to pick up that offense. The offense is kind of middle of the road still. But yeah, I would take Ty Johnson all day in this matchup.
Yep, and if you guys remember, I called Ty Johnson. I was before drafts. I was like, draft Ty Johnson, help yourselves out. And I mean, he's been a solid play all year. So I mean,
you could start Ty Johnson definitely in PPR.
Yep. Okay, moving on to the next interesting one to me. That would be Jerry Jeudy versus Odell Beckham Jr., everyone's favorite OBJ. Signed with the Rams, and his debut proved why Baker Mayfield was the problem. Had 2 catches and 18 yards. Obviously, I'm just throwing some shade. I saw a funny meme. I thought I'd say that here online. But OBJ, he's playing against Green Bay. He's playing against a team that he should have signed with, in my opinion. That's an interesting matchup. And then you got Jerry Jeudy versus the Chargers. Jerry Jeudy should have been more involved with the team here recently, and really hasn't been. Maybe this last bye week they're going to plan to get him more involved in the game. I'm just curious as to what your guys' thoughts are on that.
I'll start.
I'll go. Yeah, you start.
So with me, I feel like Odell needs a little bit more time to kind of acclimate to this offense, but also at the same time, I just feel like he's too much in his own head as of like everything that's gone on, where he said he never even wanted to be in Cleveland at one point, but then he said that he wanted to never leave Cleveland. It all just happened so fast, blah, blah, blah. So I think he's still kind of unwinding, taking everything in from moving to obviously going from a big market in New York, but moving back to a big market out of in LA. I think it's just going to take a little bit, but we've seen Matt Stafford kind of struggling here and there to involve other guys outside of Cooper Kupp. I do like the matchup against Green Bay only because their defense, it seems like they're always missing starters. They don't have Jaire Alexander. They have to start Kevin King, I believe, and all Packers fans don't like that guy. They don't think he's good. We've seen this defense kind of get torched a couple times.
He sucked in the playoffs.
I know, yeah, but he's also the defense is also kind of sneaky in a way. They do commit or not commit, but they do get quite a bit of turnovers. They'll get an interception here and there, like pivotal moments. But I really want to talk about Jerry Jeudy. In the last 3 games since he's come back, he's had 21 targets. Out of that, he's had 16 receptions, and he's posted stat lines of 39 yards, 60 yards, 48 yards, no touchdowns, but he's put up 8 fantasy points, 13 and 11. And again, this is him missing 6 games on the season.
PPR, 1 point.
Yeah, full point PPR. This is missing 6 games on the season after that nasty high ankle sprain or the knee injury, whichever one, I can't remember exactly. But him coming back, and a lot of people thought Cortland Sutton was still going to be the guy. Tim Patrick was kind of balling out when all this was going on, and they were running a bunch of different receivers out there due to injuries. But again, I think a lot of this falls on Teddy Bridgewater. He has kind of been playing up and down. 2 weeks ago when he threw the interception, it was a pick 6, didn't even try to tackle Darius Slay. To me, that just showed how dejected he was, like how out of it, I guess he is. Obviously, he's not playing to the level I'm sure he'd want to play at. Definitely not to what the team expects him to play at. But Jerry Jeudy's still finding a way to kind of produce, to be a possession guy, to try to help this struggling offense along. And it's going to be a tough matchup going up against the Chargers. They have good corners and a good secondary, but this is also a defense that seems like they can get into shootouts quite a bit. We just seen it with Pittsburgh. So I feel like Jeudy does have a good opportunity. And like I said, I feel like people are still looking at Cortland Sutton as the number one for this team. And that's just going to kind of allow Jeudy to do those underneath routes, the intermediate routes that are just going to get him open. He might get a little bit of run after the catch. But I would take him over OBJ in this situation.
I'll give my input pretty quick here. This is strictly based off of the matchup. So we've got, or based off of who you can start in this situation. Jeudy, this is going to be a divisional game against the Chargers. It could be a low-scoring game. If it's a low-scoring game, Jeudy might not be very relevant. There's a lot of mouths to feed on that offense. So in this situation, the Packers' defense have been good. They're giving up the 7th least fantasy points to the wide receiver position right now, which doesn't look good for Odell Beckham Jr. But the Rams are coming off a bye week. They are a high-powered offense. They can be a high-powered offense. The Packers are a high-powered offense. I don't see us slowing them down too much. So in order for the Rams to keep up with the Packers, we're going to have to throw the ball. Odell Beckham Jr. is going to have to come to play. So I'm starting Odell Beckham Jr. in this situation in hopes that he has a decent game. So, yeah.
All right, yeah, and I'll just give my quick input. I think it's going to be Jeudy that you start over Odell. Like Mason said, they are coming off the bye week, so he's had a few weeks now to actually learn and grow with that offense. But Paul brought up a good point. Matthew Stafford does struggle to give the ball to anybody other than Cooper Kupp at times, and I mean,
yeah, that's true.
For good reason. Cooper Kupp's an absolute stud, so I don't know. Maybe Green Bay's defense gets it done. Who knows? Maybe OBJ just isn't ready for this second string role yet. We don't really know yet. Van Jefferson's still there too, and he's still a very good receiver as well.
I do love me some Van Jefferson.
I'm going with Jeudy and the potential shootout with the Chargers, just like Paul was. And we're
Listen to me, guys.
We're running really low on time right now, so I just want to quickly glance over AJ Dillon versus Miles Sanders.
Let's go.
AJ Dillon, Aaron Jones may play this week. He's game time decision. He's playing against the Rams, and Miles Sanders is playing against the Giants. Miles Sanders is a guy who's been kind of unreliable all year long, and now they have a triple running back committee there. I quickly think that AJ Dillon's probably going to be the better start if Aaron Jones obviously doesn't play. If Aaron Jones plays, I think AJ Dillon's still going to get a decent amount of carries and can still outscore Miles Sanders.
All right, guys, I'll give my quick take on. Or you go.
Go ahead. Okay, real quick. I would typically go with Stone on this one with A.J. Dillon because of the volume, especially if Aaron Jones isn't playing. But they are going up against probably the best defense in the league in the Rams. And I know we talked about this in a recent episode. Philadelphia has been on a historic tear when it comes to rushing the ball right now. I know a lot of that kind of falls on the legs of Jalen Hurts. They have quite a few running backs there. Kenneth Gainwell's been doing work. He's obviously outtouched by Boston Scott lately. Boston Scott was then outtouched by Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard's hurt right now. Miles Sanders is back. I think the first game back, he didn't do very well. I know Mason talked about it. He had about
94 rushing yards. 94 rushing yards.
From a fantasy perspective, he only had about 7.5 though, right?
Yeah, you're right.
I think going up against this New York Giants team, I think this is the matchup that could finally kind of get him going, just because of how much they've been running the ball lately. So I'm taking Miles Sanders in this one.
Paul, I'm going to basically just piggyback off of you. Use your famous word there. I do like A.J. Dillon. Don't like him against the Rams. I do love Miles Sanders against the Giants. The Giants are horrible against the run. Miles Sanders could put up 20-plus fantasy points this week. If he gets the volume, he could get 90-plus yards. He could get a couple touchdowns. I don't want to say he get a couple touchdowns because Jalen Hurts will probably steal those. But I believe he will have equal opportunity with passing and rushing work this week. Let's go, Miles Sanders. Go out. Show us why, or show me why I drafted you in all of my leagues in like the second or third round, and you haven't proved to me that it's okay until now.
Well, guys, I mean, I think you all understand that you need to go with my pick of A.J. Dillon. Everybody that watches this channel knows that Mason and Paul are not the guys to listen to. It's always me. I'm always right about everything. So
I'm the rightest right of them all.
Especially Paul. He seems to just always have the wrong call somehow. Not trying to hate on you, Paul.
I like to take chances. I like to take chances and go for the upsets.
I have the best records in all my leagues, so listen to me.
Well, that's all we
I
got
have the
today for
worst.
you guys. That's all we got today. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment down below any of the flex starters that you guys have questions about. We'll help you guys out with that as much as we can in the comments. And subscribe to the channel. Paul was pointing at the button just a second ago, but you can't click that one. You can click the one that is right above the description down below, right under Paul. So if you guys really enjoyed the video, leave a subscription, and we try to schedule videos every Monday through Friday for you guys, and possibly a few extras if we have any breaking news segments that we want to cover. But I'm going to give things over to Mason so he can get us out of here.
Fantasy Few out, baby. Let's go.